We are sending data. Never seen that before. Custom service, sending data. Okay, we are streaming on, still waiting for YouTube. I don't know why. All right, we're good. We're streaming. Okay, that's good. Okay, everybody. Jordan, give us the countdown from 10, and I see everybody, and we're going to start the music when we hit 0. So let's go. Jordan, you ready?
I'm ready.
10. Everybody.
9,
9,
8,
8, 7,
7,
6,
6,
5,
5,
4,
4,
3,
3,
2,
2,
1. Never have New Year's Eve if you were all doing this. Here we go.
Where does yesterday's future, which is already here, meet today's future, which is about to happen, and tomorrow's future, which could be just minutes away? Welcome to Technology Revolution, the future of now, where host Bonnie D. Graham asks savvy futurists for their predictions about the tech-driven trends that are shaping our future right now. Here's your host, who will take us into the future of now, Bonnie D. Graham.
That's me, Bonnie D. in the house. Thank you to the wonderful voice who introduces me. We are so excited to be here because we're going vroom, vroom. That's my code for, we're talking about automotive again. Listen, you've all heard the story, the song, the wheels on the bus go around. Well, when the wheels on the bus aren't going around anymore, where do the wheels go? Where does the bus go? Does it go to a junk heap somewhere? Does it go to a place where it's just going to become a bunch of, I don't know, rusty stuff? Are people going to go pick it apart for parts? There is a better way. And the better way we've been talking about since, Simon, I think September of 2024 is called the circular economy. Reuse, repurpose, recycle. Don't get rid of it. Do something with it. Design automotive for future uses. Come up with new stuff. It's a good way to go for the planet, for the world, for everything, and for cars. Yeah, you might not find as much in the junkyard usable, but there'll be a couple things to go there. So I have, welcome to my panelists, and I want to tell you, I found some breaking news this morning, just briefly before I do my introductory poem for all of you. Recycling lithium-ion batteries delivers significant environmental benefits. And I'm going to do a quote here from Tom, did you read this one too? William Tarpa, assistant professor of chemical engineering at the School of Engineering where was he at? Stanford University. And a research study senior author said, recently I was in an Uber electric vehicle, an EV. The driver asked me if EVs are really good for the environment because he recently read that maybe they aren't. All he knew was that I was on the faculty of Stanford. I told him EVs are definitely good for the environment and we're finding ways to make them even more so. This study tells us that we can design the future of battery recycling. You knew I'd get to it, Simon. The future of battery recycling to optimize the environmental benefits. We can write the script. So there. Anybody else read that story today? Anybody? I get lots of tech newsletters, and so I thought this was really interesting for our topic. I also want to do a quick shout out to a gentleman named Trond Mehus, Mehus. Anybody know Trond? He's in Norway, I think. Mm-hmm. Well, Trond named this show among his top 3 tech trends podcasts to listen to when he's traveling, when he's on the train, when he's listening in the car. And he said he has to get his tech trends news. And this show is number 3 on his list of the top podcasts. So I want to say thank you to Trond, whoever you are. I had to hit translation button on LinkedIn because I can't read Norwegian. And somebody told me it was in Norway. So thank you, Trond. I'm very honored that you found the show. So here we go. Let me do my introduction. Welcome, global audience, to Technology Revolution's Glow. It's not the ion battery. I didn't swallow it today. Bonnie D on her Scarlett Mic. Simon, you can laugh now. Your host and guide, you know. Today, we drive once again into a topic profound, the automotive circular economy, where AI makes the wheels go round and round. As waste becomes new resources done right, recycle, reuse, renew with all of our might. Now it's showtime, and Bonnie D is ready to start. I'm talking about me like I'm not even here. 4 futurists serving their predictions a la carte. When I call your name, wave. Simon J.A. Meitz drives strategy bold. Simon, wave. In circular systems, his vision will unfold. From EY to Roaring, he leads with great might, shaping the future's ESG with insight. a speaker on carbon, on tech, and reform. Simon is setting sustainability at a very new norm. Simon, I hope you like that. That was a new
I
one.
love it. Thank you.
You're
Wow.
welcome. You're welcome. I do
Always,
a new one.
always amazing. And I'm looking forward to the next business model of yours.
There you go. Tom Madonna is here. Tom, we've known each other for 100 years, and you and Simon were both recently on my Cool Dude show, and you both are. Tom Madonna, a leader so wise, guiding automotive to optimize. From SAP's depths to classrooms so bright, Tom transforms processes, bringing costs to light. A foodie, a traveler with wisdom so keen, Tom's insights keep industries running pristine. I hope you like that, Tom. I gotta smile there. Okay, we're good. We're good. Katharina Peier is with us with future insights. Sustainability fuels her drive day and night. From AI to safety and automotive, she reigns, crafting innovations that overcome what constrains. A champion of change with passion so grand, Katharina leads the green shift with a visionary stand. What do you think? I think she liked it. Actually, it's visionary hand, but I think Stan works well too. And then we have a newcomer on the show. Everybody applaud him, this brave gentleman here on the top, Dr. Stefan Caba. It's spelled C-A-B-A, but he lessoned me. Plastics are his game. He's a champion of change, reshaping its name. With circular visions and zero waste goals, Stefan is redefining how auto tech rolls. No material lost, efficiency is prime. He's shaping a future, both green and sublime. Stefan, how'd I do?
Perfect. Expectations are high now.
And welcome. So stay tuned, dear audience, as we explore this revolution in tech, innovation, and more. AI meets the automotive circular economy right here with Bonnie D and 4 savvy futurists. It's ours to steer. So what'd you think? Fresh one for Simon, for Katharina, and for Tom. And Stefan's a new one, so he didn't have anything to compare it to. I'm delighted to have you all here. So what I'd like to do is give you each 2 minutes. If there's anything you want to tell us about your bio, about what you do in circularity and sustainability, want to fill in any dashes or any blanks I missed in this little short 6-line rhyming bio I gave for each of you, this is your chance. Then we'll go to the quotes and then we'll go to predictions. So Simon, you're up first. Anything I missed in the bio? Up first and go.
I think you covered it. You covered it pretty well. So sustainability, in particular, sustainability in the automotive space, is my game, and that's what really drives me. I think one of the key aspects is that you're really working together with people, and you will see more and more that there is new regulations on the horizon, and you need to drive this green transformation across the board and design new ecosystems. And that's, I think, the challenge I'm excited most about.
Well, we're glad, and we're glad you're here. And Simon, you've been driving the panels, pun intended, for this topic. You brought this to me a long time ago, and I'm very glad. This is part 3. We just keep rolling along with this one. Stefan thinks this is the last one in this sub-series. No, Stefan, we're going to keep rolling along through 2025 with this topic.
100%.
Tom Madonna is back. Tom, I'm always happy to see you. Tom and I've worked together since, oh goodness, about 2012, I think. I had a show called Coffee Break with Game Changers was the main show, and I think we did the future of automotive with Game Changers, and then the future of mobility and something else with Game Changers, and Tom's been around for that show for years. So Tom, always wonderful to see you. Tell them how many cars you've owned so far in your lifetime and anything you want to add about your bio. Tom, welcome back.
So I'm actually a prime example for reuse and reusability, 43 cars. So at this point in time, I've been in this process as far as automotive goes for 27 years plus. Been working on both automotive, heavy industrial, all the way up in regards to recycling and execution. So the circular economy is very near and dear. Both the remanu, consolidations have all been industries and pieces we've looked at. And one of the things about our company is we just released public general announcement of release for the Green Ledger. So now companies can actually track that in both carbon as well as recyclability.
Thank you very much. Wonderful to have 43. I thought you were at 40 cars. Since I spoke to you about a month ago, you got 3 more cars. This man is amazing. I'll show you a picture of the garage I designed when I was living in North Carolina. I think you're going to love it. Really, really cool. Katharina is back. Delighted to see you. Got to get more women in automotive, and you are there on the cutting edge. Katharina, I'm putting you on speaker view. Please fill us in with a little more about yourself, and welcome back.
Thank you very much for having me again today. In my case, it's just one car. So, I've had the chance to work in various roles at Continental, an automotive supplier with a strong focus on innovation all the time. So I started out in software, where I got to explore artificial intelligence and how it can be applied in and around vehicles. From there, I moved into the space of sustainable innovation, so working on projects related to CO2 reduction, circularity, and emission-free mobility. And just a month ago, I took the role as head of sustainability for our safety and motion business unit. It's an exciting new role with a clear focus on making sustainability a key part of what we do. And I believe there will be also the opportunity to continue driving innovation.
Wonderful. Katharina, what brought you into the automotive field? Did you have a family of people who loved cars, or were you fascinated? Did you watch a lot of car TV shows? I'm just curious, what was that origin point? Can you share that with us?
So my background is industrial engineering with electrical engineering, and that was the way I started in the software area with my master thesis. So more or less by accident, but it's great.
That's what I was looking for, accident. Yes, a lot of us have had careers quite by accident like me. Thank you very much and welcome back. Stefan Caba. I have heard so much about you, and we've gone back and forth on all the prep for the show. We're delighted to have you, and I'm going to put you on speaker view. Why don't you give us a little more information about yourself? Welcome, Stefan.
Yeah, hello. More information about me. So, yeah, I'm a plastics engineer. Started studying this in the automotive sector, and I was working in science for 5 years, and then came back to the automotive industry, now for EDAC for more than 7 years. And since I'm working on plastics always, everybody tells you about this is a threat to environment. So I decided to do something against this threat and started about working on circular economy, improving the use of plastics. So not only lightweight design, but also circular systems, and not only recycling, by the way, also reuse. And today, with leading this innovation field at EDAC is a nice piece of work.
Thank you very much and welcome. I love your background. That's I see a couple of motorcycles and bikes and a fancy car there, and very, very interesting. We'll talk cars afterwards. Okay. Thank you all for the added bios. Now let's go to the part of the show where I've asked each of you to send me a fictional quote from a movie or a TV character or a song lyric. We'll do this really briefly. I have a little background. You know, I love the trivia, the research. And Simon, we'll start with you. Simon's quote is from a song recorded by, do I have to tell you, English rock band, The Beatles. Okay. 1967 album, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. It was mostly written by Paul McCartney. John Lennon added a little bit, and it was sung by drummer Ringo Starr, and he was Sgt. Pepper singer Billy Shears, his lead vocal for the album, and it segues from the title track, from the applause into it. And listen to this, Simon, I don't know if you know this, but Ringo changed the line. What would you think if I sang out of tune? Would you throw ripe tomatoes at me? He didn't want them to throw tomatoes if he performed live. George Harrison liked Jelly Bellies, so fans used to throw Jelly Bellies at the Beatles on stage at the live performances. So Ringo changed that line because he knew if they were going to throw something, he'd want tomatoes. Here's the line: with a little help from my friends. Simon, 2 minutes. What's this got to do with our topic today? Go.
Great, thank you so much. First of all, maybe a tip of the hat to Stefan as well, because that's a really actually a cool dude that I met last time at the Electronica fair in where was it, Stefan, again?
Frankfurt.
And exactly. In Frankfurt, and we had a really fun conversation. So this is why I thought I need to bring him on stage, a wealth of experience there, and I'm really looking forward to his trends. From what I've experienced in that space, it's a lot of time about people you work with, about the connections you make. And a lot of my co-workers, a lot of the clients actually became friends who we are driving that green transformation together. It's a lot about interdisciplinary thinking. So you need people from different backgrounds. So that I think is very important. And this huge transformative nature of this green transformation right now is maybe similar to the transformation we've seen before in the digital space. So here, all the disciplines need to come together, all the people need to come together to create a new ecosystem that has that works. So we need to create now the blueprint for an ecosystem for a market that is green and is working. And that's something that you can only do together. So hopefully we can do that with a little help from my friends.
There you go. I think you have a lot of friends. We actually have people watching us live, which is not very often. So thank you very much. I appreciate that. When I'm looking over, I'm not being rude to you, but I have the encoder on the other screen on my other monitor, and I'm making sure the streaming is going, and I'm seeing how we look on the air. So thank you very much. Let's go to Tom Madonna. Tom has picked a quote from Sonny Weaver Jr., played by Kevin Costner. The movie is Draft Day, a 2014 American sports drama film, something to do with the top draft pick in the Seattle Seahawks and the Cleveland Browns. And there's a girlfriend in there played by Jennifer Garner and blah, blah, blah. And I didn't see the movie, so you can give us a little background. The quote Thomas picked is, "We live in a different world than we did just 30 seconds ago." I can't imagine a better quote for today, Tom Madonna. So no politics, but seriously. Okay, Tom, go ahead. Take 2 minutes. What does this mean for our topic, please?
Well, then there's the whole piece of this quote where he starts talking about pancake eating, et cetera. So if you haven't seen the full quote, I only use the sport that actually is politically correct. But ultimately, in the process of having this draft, both as a front draft and a second draft, they basically changed their mind in the middle of the execution. So similar to this particular topic, everything is changing. The world is growing. Economies and politics are going all the way through. People are basically making decisions, and we're making that as a ongoing piece. So another piece of this is, we're putting the train tracks down as the train's moving down the tracks, or trying to land the airplane on the runway as it's being built. This is a new and execution process that every single company is looking at today. And every time something comes out, something new is there to actually help them. They're having to make policy changes. They're having to make direction changes. And I think this is really driving a new economy and a new execution that the companies are having a hard time keeping up with. And I think as we start to think about it, as well as what becomes mainstay execution on a company, is really going to be how they're going to look at this, what's their long-term direction, and how much are they going to invest in doing it. I think one of the things that was mentioned on part 2 was, it's more expensive on a recycled part than a new part. I think some of that is just kind of a small piece. I don't think that you're going to see that very long, as well as, what the gray market is for these parts. So long and short, things are changing.
Thank you very much. Quickly. And by the way, Simon and Katharina, so you know, when I invited Tom to join us just a few days ago to fill the 4th seat on the panel, he said, send me the links to part 1 and part 2. I want to see what they talked about. So he did his homework on that. And thank you, Tom, for that reference. Very much appreciated. Katharina, I'm looking at your quote. This is 4 words, packs a punch, very, very famous. It's iconic. Buzz Lightyear, voiced by Tim Allen, who has a new TV show, by the way, right now. I'm not too keen on it. Toy Story is the movie, 1995 computer animated comedy film produced by Pixar, released by Walt Disney. It's the first part of the Toy Story franchise. It's the first entirely computer animated feature film and Pixar's first feature film. And I thought you'd get a kick out of this. It was executive produced by Steve Jobs. I didn't know that. Voices of Tom Hanks, Tim Allen, Don Rickles, what? Wallace Shawn, wow, John Ratzenberger, oh, Annie Potts. It just gets Laurie Metcalf, what a cast. In a world where anthropomorphic toys come to life when humans are not in the room, an old-fashioned pull-string cowboy doll named Woody and an astronaut action figure named Buzz Lightyear evolved from rivals competing for their owner Andy Davis's affections to friends who work together to be reunited with Andy after they're separated from him. And did you know that philosophers and mathematical theorists use this line, which is also a quote from a book by Eli Mayer from 1991, 4 years before the movie. And the quote Katharina picked, you didn't expect I was going to give the whole history of the thing, did you? The quote is, "To infinity and beyond." Katharina, take your time. Go ahead. What does this have to do with our topic?
Yeah, I think it fits very well to our topic. And this iconic phrase from Toy Story is more than just a line. It's Buzz Lightyear's optimistic belief in boundless possibilities. In the film, Buzz thinks he is a real space ranger capable of incredible things, only to realize later that he's just a toy. And yet the phrase remains a powerful symbol of pushing limits and exploring what lies beyond. In many ways, this reflects how we approach artificial intelligence in the context of circularity in the automotive industry. AI offers the promise of seemingly endless possibilities, optimizing systems, reducing waste, designing more efficient products, making processes smarter, and so on. It's an existing vision, but like Buzz Lightyear's realization, we must balance this optimism with the realities and limitation of the tools we have. For circularity within the automotive industry, this might mean creating models that predict how materials degrade or how products can be stored, sorted, or reused. It expands what's possible. But as inspiring as To Infinity and Beyond sounds, we must also acknowledge that AI is not a magic solution. It's a tool that needs careful implementation, thoughtful design, and real-world grounding. What AI offers is not infinity, but for sure the ability to go beyond our current limits and take steps towards a more sustainable and also efficient future.
Thank you. That was lovely. That was beautiful. Yes, thoughtful. I like the introduction of that word, using it thoughtfully. Thank you so much, Katharina. And Stefan has picked a quote from a classic movie, The Graduate, 1967. And in the research, I found out, Stefan, that it's considered an independent movie. So it wasn't one of the major studios, romantic comedy drama. As of 2007, Stefan, this is the 17th greatest American film and one of the most influential of all times. I thought that was very interesting. Directed by Mike Nichols. Quick story, Ben Braddock, 21 years old, comes out of college, doesn't know what he wants to do in his life. And there comes Mrs. Robinson, the famous Mrs. Robinson. And she says, okay, let's spend some time together. But then he falls in love with her daughter, Elaine. What can I tell you? It was the highest grossing film of 1967 in North America. And if you adjust it for inflation, it's the 22nd highest grossing film ever in the US and Canada. It won for Best Director. That's Mike Nichols. Here is the line. Mr. McGuire, played by Walter Brooke, at a cocktail party, says to Benjamin, played by the wonderful Dustin Hoffman, the following line. I want to say one word to you, just one word, plastics. There's a great future in plastics. Think about it. Will you think about it? Enough said. I put together the whole scene into one line there, Stefan. He just wanted the word plastics. Stefan, of course you picked that one. Tell us what this has to do with our topic. Go ahead.
Yeah, it has a lot to do with that because if you're talking about circularity, I think plastics, as I said, is the threat or is the material everybody says is the worst material to work with, and where circularity doesn't work. I think it's the opposite, or not exactly the opposite, but it's not true. There are numerous options for improvements, and this is what I'm working on. And I did not really see the movie, by the way, but I got the quote. The quote I got from a conference in Cleveland, by the way, in 2014. And there were some guys from the University of Akron, Ohio, wearing shirts where it just said, I tell you one word, plastics. And I just picked it. Greetings to those guys.
I love it. I love it. That's absolutely, yes, I mean, we'll do number one. That's great, Stefan. Interesting that the quote Katharina picked is well known on t-shirts to infinity and beyond, and it's that popular. So one word plastics. Saw it at a conference. That's very interesting in Cleveland. Yes, news travels fast when you get these iconic lines. So today I want all of you to think about what you can say in 3 or 4 or 5 words that will end up on a t-shirt. Katharina, we gotta have a t-shirt production of something you're going to say today. Stefan, you can figure it out. It can't be Tom. You'll come up with something. And Simon, of course, you will. Let's go to, thank you all for the quotes. I appreciate that. And let's go to our predictions now. And let's see now. Simon, I'm going to go to your prediction number 1, which you preferred. So let me read it, and then you will tell us. Take about 3 minutes. And if anybody around the table, that's Tom, Katharina, or Stefan, wants to comment, I think you all have 10 fingers. I respond to one of the nice fingers, not the one in the middle, and just wiggle your finger and I will call you for a 1-minute response. You can rebut, you can agree, whatever you want to do. It's your time. So Simon says AI will transform EVs into carbon conscious chargers, optimizing every charge for maximum use of green energy without compromising comfort. That's a new twist on this, the idea of comfort. I've talked to you about comfortable design and all that, and here we are. Simon, why don't you go away with this one? Take it for us. Simon, unmute, dear. Unmute. You're muted. Come back.
I
There
think
we
we're
are.
gonna, here you go. I think we're gonna pick up on the comfort thing maybe at some point later, or maybe one of our later shows. But I've actually checked a few times, and if you've probably all seen these data and graphs about the energy mix in different countries. So if we look at the energy mix, for example, in the US, in Europe, or in other countries, it all looks not 100% the same, of course, but it all varies quite a bit. So you have like this teeth-like look, and if you drill down, you can look at the whole year, you can look at a month, you can look at a week, and if you drill down even further for like let's say a 24-hour energy mix curve, you will see that the energy mix changes quite significantly. So sometimes there is a lot of renewable energy. Sometimes there is no renewable energy nearly. That depends a bit on the seasons as well. But even day by day, there are quite significant differences. And I've actually checked that it really depends on how and when you charge your car. And now we're getting to the critical point. If you're charging your car, for example, at night, the carbon emissions, the CO2 footprint of the electricity might be significantly higher than charging it during the day when there is a lot of sunlight, so a lot of energy so a lot of solar energy dominating the grid. And all these little imbalances, all those little changes, we can really utilize, and AI can help and play a crucial role to analyze this grid data to identify exactly those little low carbon or carbon neutral energy windows, and adjust your charging schedule accordingly. So one thing is, hey, I need to know when to charge it, but that wouldn't be the end of it, of course, because then you charge it maybe when it's quite uncomfortable for you, when you need the car. So you need an extra dimension here. You need AI to really understand your behavior, to predict your behavior, so to understand and learn your individual driver routines. When you typically drive, where you typically drive to, how long you drive to, when you're going to the gym, if you're doing weekend trips and so on. And based on that, it all comes together and you will have a low emission charge in your car at no comfort loss. And ideally, and that's the kicker now, non-renewable electricity will be cheaper normally as well, because it's in some of the sections or times it's available in abundance, so the prices will drop as well. So here you go, cheaper, no comfort loss, and greener.
Winner, winner, winner. Tom, fingers up. Tom, go talk.
I think the big thing that underlines all that conversation is data. If you don't have the data, you don't have the statistics, you don't have the ability, then AI can't do any learning off of it. And so part of the situation that we're currently seeing is how's that data being captured? Like we said in previous shows, Bonnie, who owns that data? Is that data owned by the customer?
I'm always asking that question.
I've
been asking that question for 10 years, right, Tom?
For the utility companies, et cetera. So all of those things are there. And I think the one thing that's also thing about Simon's quote is comfort. When you start to look at the EV, I personally like to have the radio up. I like to have the air conditioning on. I like to have the heater on. I like to be driving, et cetera. All that reduces the capacity of what actually gets out as a charge on that particular battery. And so part of the situation in regards to the comfort piece for me is, what can I live with or live without based upon having that charge being full or not. But I think going back to the data piece, it's really going to be the use of the data and how that data is basically being monetized. It's going to be the main determination of who, how, and where it's going to be used.
Thank you. Simon, any comments back?
Maybe one quick comment, and happy to discuss that, because at least in Germany, we do have that data publicly available. So we know the energy mix basically in each hour. Probably AI would be able to understand that and, let's say, extrapolate the data to have a little bit of a predictive energy mix data in there as well, I would assume. And then you would only have to consider and think about the other data streams. So everything that comes from maybe phones, the car, and helps to predict your behavior. But I think it's a super exciting discussion, and there's a lot to do still in that area. And data sharing is one of the critical points, and data security, of course, as well.
And that came up a couple of years ago in the US, Tom. You may remember when insurance companies contacted all of us and said, if you let us give us privy to your driving habits, we'll be able to reduce your premiums. I think I remember that. And it was they wanted to know how hard you brake and how much city driving you do and what hours you drive. And I said, hell no. I don't drive too much. I said, hell no. By the way, BMW in North Carolina keeps contacting me. It's time for a new car. I said, are you kidding me? The car's garage. It's loved. It drives 6 miles a week back and forth to the grocery store, once a month to the red place. And it's in beautiful condition. No, I'm keeping it another 10 years or so. So stop telling me I need a new car. Anyway, anybody have any more comments on either Simon or Tom? Okay, we're good. I'm going to move on. Tom, I'm at your prediction number 1. It's long and packed. I'm going to read just a little bit, and then we'll see if anybody has any comments. So Tom says, today, the automotive industry achieves over 75% materials recovery. That's metals, plastics, that's for you, Stefan, glass, rubber, batteries, lead, textiles, and fluids through their circular sustainability programs. With help of AI, large global OEMs will push these initiatives to over 85% by the end of this year and increase by 3 to 5% annually over the next 5 years, aiming for 100%. I read most of it. Tom, very interesting. Go talk to us a little bit.
So if you think through this, and it varies. So, let's go to plastics, since we started that, that's only about a 30 to 40% reuse coming out of automotive, as of today. You start talking about rubbers, Continental, it's about 90%. You start talking about the batteries, that's 90%. The issue really comes down to, and with all the lead and all the lithium and everything else we've been talking about for batteries, why that's not 100%, I don't know. Certain one of my clients at this point in time is achieving 110%, recovery of theirs. So they're actually picking up other people's batteries and recovering metals off of them. But what you're seeing is the gray market is still out there. People are still making money off the gray market. Okay, let it be eBay, let it be pick and pull, let it be the Rex, et cetera. So until that process becomes economically feasible for those materials to be picked, gathered, and reused, you're really going to start to see that. So again, it comes back to data, and it comes back to how the AI is going to use that data going forth. Long and short, 85% is aspirational, 100% is aspirational. But I think at this point in time, you're starting to see the global economy. You're starting to see OEMs in general across all the different theaters. Think about that. Go for it. You're seeing consumers wanting to see that. And so ultimately, when it comes down to it, market's going to drive the execution. And if you're going to be able to be considered, quote, a reusable green company, then you're going to have a bigger customer enhancements. And so therefore the customer interaction is going to be part of that in regards to how it's going to drive sentiment in regards to your brand, your loyalty, and how they're going to currently purchase off of it. So data is queuing, but at this point in time, the trends are there.
Well put. Thank you very much. Any comments for Tom? Katharina wants to say something. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I think it's always about the last percentage, and we have a completely different picture if we, for example, talk about electronics. Even in the automotive industry, there are still big questions and a lot to do in that area. And also there we see opportunities in regards of disassembly, sorting, and so on, where big steps can help us to come to more percentage or even 100%. But just to mention this, in electronics and automotive is a lot of electronics. So a very important topic here to mention that.
Thank you. Simon, join us.
Maybe just a quick one. And all of you obviously know that in Europe we're looking at a new ELV directive right now that will foster a huge change, I think, in the automotive industry and how we recycle. A huge change, I think, also in market dynamics. So who will actually have a business case in terms of dismantling those cars and getting the materials, and that's key. The business case, the regulation that changes the whole power play, I would say, of this automotive industry right now. So I'm really looking forward and to see how we can adjust to that.
Good pun on power there. Stefan wanted to join us. Go ahead, Stefan.
Yeah, I was a bit wondering about the data, to be honest. I think this included energy recovery too, didn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, that's for sure. Because as Simon just said, this is this end-of-life vehicle directive, as an example, includes a 6.25% closed-loop recycling. So this means bringing back plastics into a new vehicle from an old vehicle. And everybody's struggling about this because there is no closed loop recycling. And in addition, we're exporting almost 1 million of vehicles into any other country in the world, just out of Europe, mostly to Africa, which is just a loss of material. So the problems are still huge. But as you say, nothing is impossible. We can go up with the rates. Let's see how we can make it. Yeah.
Let's see. There you go. So let's go to, thank you. Thank you very much, Tom. Katharina, I'm going to read your prediction number 1, and then Stefan, I'll pick one for you. So Katharina says, this is the one she told me she really wants to talk about. So this is what we're going to use. The use of synthetic data in artificial intelligence can support the transition to the automotive circular economy by reducing the need for physical data collection, minimizing resource consumption, and enabling continuous improvements without additional environmental impact. You hit all of the key points there. Katharina, go ahead, unpack this for us, please. Go.
Yeah, sure. Before I come to my hypothesis, let me set the stage first with the R framework of the circular economy, because this framework includes refuse, rethink, reduce, reuse, repair, refurbish, and recycle. And it's crucial to understand that the circular economy isn't just about end-of-life processes like recycling, recovery. Significant potential lies in the design phase, mainly in the concepts of refuse and rethink. And by refusing unnecessary materials and rethinking product designs, we can create more sustainable solutions from the outset. And to illustrate this, let's consider a concrete example involving the potential of artificial intelligence here. Specifically, we'll look at the driver monitoring system using in-cabin cameras. These systems are currently used to detect if a driver is seated correctly, for example, where the attention is focused and whether they sit or are distracted. For these algorithms to accurately interpret the images, they require extensive training and testing data. Traditionally, this data is generated through test drives involving hundreds of participants or through image simulation, for example. However, the future points towards the use of synthetic data generated by AI. So how does generative AI create synthetic data? In a nutshell, because we don't have time, imagine you need images of a driver in various scenarios. Instead of capturing real images, the Gen AI can generate these images by using algorithms to create realistic yet entirely artificial data. For example, it can simulate a driver in different positions, lighting conditions, or weather scenarios. And this approach could eliminate the need for extensive data collecting drives in specific test vehicles and allow the data to be applied across various vehicle modules. This reduces the need for prototypes, contributing to the circular economy. Additionally, it helps improving the accuracy by enabling the inclusion of rare situations, such as various weather conditions, snow, for example, or also specific lightning scenarios. Of course, and this discussion will always come, we must consider the resources required for the AI here. But also what is an ongoing research is to minimize the computational demands and supports also ongoing research to minimize the necessary image data while adhering to the legal requirements, of course. So in summary, what I want to say here is by leveraging synthetic data and AI, we can significantly advance the principles of the circular economy from design phase through the end-of-life processes.
Thank you very much. I'd like to go around the table. Synthetic data is something I'm not familiar with. So anybody want to comment on that? Tom or a Simon or a Stefan? Anybody chime in? I think you stumped the panel, Katharina. Simon, go ahead.
Well, let everybody else talk first. Right.
Simon?
I think synthetic data can be a key for a lot of different scenarios, but and I'm looking to Stefan here right now. I remember our discussions at the fair about the data for testing, for example. I think you've had a project where they use the data for like a hood testing, and and ideally that would have been used from like different kind of OEMs, so different kind of manufacturers across the board. But that was already quite tricky to get all this data merged because of security. Nobody wants the data to leave their premise. So if synthetic data could be a solution for that, I'm not sure if that would work to I don't know, not have to do all those tests. That would be a great use case.
Stefan, you want to chime in?
Yeah. Actually, we are trying to reduce the number of real-life tests as much as we can. We are doing test drives. I think Conti, as an example, is also doing that without having a vehicle. We are adjusting parameters of the wheels or of the suspension system, and we do a next test drive. And this is very helpful because we are faster, we are cheaper, and we do not need to produce something. So we are also more sustainable. And what we are actually looking for is really going to the point where we do not have to build a real life model anymore. And next step would be this for circular economy to get back or to analyze what's on the market and give a prediction of this is reusable or as a recycled or as a panel, as an example, for directly going into a new vehicle. And for this we need always the validation. So we are using AI to exactly know if it's feasible or not. And this within milliseconds or parts of a second, which was not possible before AI. Before AI, we would need weeks at least for validation. And with AI, it's done.
Thank you. Interesting. If I were, Tom, 1 second, if I were a layperson tuning into this or seeing a transcript or watching a clip, I'm going to put some Opus clips of this show onto LinkedIn and maybe Facebook. I would say, oh, AI can benefit me. I never thought about that. Yeah, there's some, maybe that car I love could be, it could end up like like body parts being transplanted. I'm sorry. This is going to sound awful. I would will this engine of this car, if the car is in a crash, the engine's good, I would will this to another vehicle, and I want to make sure that it is used that way. Can you imagine if we wrote that on our driver's licenses instead of after human life, we would say, I would want the parts of this car to be harvested? Wow. We'll have to do a whole show on Simon. I just came up with it. Tom, you want to Tom rescue me, please? I'm falling out here. Tom, go ahead.
Talk about gray market. What? So when you start talking about parts, you got new parts, you got used parts, and you got gray market parts, and gray market parts are your pull parts. So that's the whole process to go with it. But I think one of the things that you're going to see, particularly from my organization, in an announcement that's going to come out in less than a week, is Unleashed. And this is where we can take applications, data, and AI, basically move it, bring everything together, irrespective of being your data or outside data, and how that's going to basically be used internally to drive design, execution, delivery, supply chains, all are coming. So I won't steal the thunder, but that's going to be something that the organization is bringing out and is going to help. Conti's a client of ours. Several of the big OEM clients are ours. So at this point, they all are looking for and waiting for that to come out. But again, data is going to be a key. Would it be your data, outside data, and synthesized data? So all of that's going to be integrated.
Thank you. I'm looking at the clock. I want to get Stefan's prediction in here because it's very pertinent to what we're talking about. He says automotive grade metal alloys and, of course, plastic compounds in the future will all be based on recyclates, recyclates. It will be AI to define their ingredients based on the currently available scrap. Wow, Stefan, we could have done a whole show on this one. So take your 2 minutes and can everybody stay a few minutes past the top of the hour? Are you all good? Katharina, give us a few more. Because all right, we'll let Jordan end the show on the Voice America YouTube and we'll keep going. So we'll wave goodbye when he's done and then we'll keep going for a few minutes. Stefan, go ahead. Tell us more about this, please.
What I mean with that is one day we are trying to have closed loop recycling, and then we have to keep an eye on what's coming from the market. And we have to bid on new alloys depending on what's coming from the market. So AI will help us to predict the properties of the material, of any material we are mixing out of what's coming back. And I guess it will not be possible without AI to define which kind of parts have to go into our new mixture or new alloy or new compound in order to achieve the properties that we need. And that's why I think AI is going to be really, really helpful. On the one hand, identifying the material grades which are coming back. On the other hand, deciding which of these parts to put, or which of these tons of these parts to put into the oven or into the compounder, and to achieve the material properties that we need.
Very, very interesting. Let's go around the table. Any thoughts on this? We may be able to end at the top of the hour, depending on how much it goes. Katharina, you want to comment? Go.
Yeah, it's again, I start also from the beginning, because I think if we talk about materials today, we have plastics, different ones. Yeah, we have polypropylene, we have polyamide, polycarbonate, and so on, and they are mixed currently with additives. So we have stabilizers, we have flame retardants in there, we have fillers, we have colors, and so on and so forth. And I think what would be really helping for separation and recycling would be to have monomaterials which are really easy to separate. And I think that could also be one possibility for our AI to create materials like that we can use over industries or across the industry to make sure to have materials ready which are recyclable, and also where car-to-car recycling is possible. Yeah.
Wouldn't it be interesting to go to a car dealer and say, I want to buy a car that is made with materials that will be able to be appropriately recycled? That's the car I want. You think that day would come at some point, Stefan?
That's what the European Union just did with the End-of-Life Vehicle Directive. They just said more or less that. maybe not for 100%, but they said you have to be sure that this is all applied, which means it's circular, it's repairable, reusable, remanufacturing is possible. So that's what they do. And in fact, the car OEMs are struggling against it, but the regulation will come somehow. And I guess it will be an improvement, in particular also for the customers and the environment.
Yeah, if they're aware of it. Katharina, you wanted to comment?
Yeah, I think it's regulation is one thing, demand is the other one. So keep your eye open, because there are a lot of opportunities available already. And if you choose the remanufactured one, then the market is growing, and then it's getting cheaper as well. So it's both. Yeah, it's the demand, the people, and on the other side, for sure, the legal
awareness too. You got to know about it. Tom, join us.
Yeah, I think you've already seen, one brand in North America that basically advertises give backs to the community. So you buy that vehicle and they give back to, pets, they give back to donations, they give back to whatever. You pick the donation you want. That particular brand has a 90% rebuy approach because of that particular branding of that particular OEM. So I think one of the things you're going to see is not so much someone demanding it. You're going to see an OEM going out, doing it, advertising it, and then having that brand awareness and that infinity for those individuals coming back to that brand. So I think it's going to be kind of reverse as compared to a demand from the customer, as compared to a customer reacting to an OEM's opinion or direction on the environment.
Mm-hmm. I got
very interesting. Yeah. Simon, do you mind if we do another prediction? I pulled one up.
I have a couple of comments on that, actually, if you don't mind.
Okay, well, we're going to still go around. I'm not ready for your prediction, but we're still talking about this one with wanting recyclables. Stefan, go ahead.
Just want to say it would even increase if you do not sell the car anymore, and if it's just a sharing business. Okay, Katharina wanted to raise the same point.
Exactly, yeah. I think
then
it's
you
all
can
about
do
the
whatever
business
you
model.
want, because the customer's just buying the miles and not the vehicle.
Yeah, our amount of live listeners just doubled. Tom, you want to do a shout out to anybody? Tom's getting messages from people. I'm watching you on live streaming.
Oh, amazing.
Last time I was at one of the hockey games, I had my cousin basically reach out and said, "You're on live TV. You need a smile." So.
There you go. Are we done with this one? Because I have a prediction. Simon, go ahead.
I got a few comments, or maybe also questions. I'm not sure if we can answer those right now. But I think the moment you have used parts, I mean, of course, you have to label them as used. The question is then, it's quite interesting, if you remanufacture parts as new. So the quality and everything is the same as a new part. Do you need to promote it? Do you need to tell the customer that it's actually remanufactured? Crazy question. Okay, there's legal implications, of course, as well. Mm-hmm. What you see, that's my opinion, people rarely buy something because it's green, or actually only a few people buy something because it's green. They only buy it if it's maybe cheaper, if it gives them a bit more comfort. So the green and sustainable aspect is normally on third or fourth place of a buying decision. And how I think France has kind of is a few steps ahead of Germany, and they've started creating this market already. And there, the insurances, so those players play a quite important part there as well, because they have to I think customers have to be offered a remanufactured and a used part as well, like a remanufactured option, and this option is normally quite a bit cheaper than the new option. So this really drives the market, in particular if you consider that the insurance landscape or the insurance conditions there mean that you always have to pay a share of the damage of the price. So the moment that condition kicks in, the customer says, hey, I have to pay 30% of that, 40%, 50 or 60% of that. And if it's cheaper and has the same quality, let's go for the used or the remanufactured part. So a lot of critical elements to consider to actually establish this new market, this new working market, and this new I always call it end of life vehicle ELV world in Europe. That's the market I'm focusing on.
Simon,
right now.
take a breath for a second. Everybody wave goodbye to Voice America YouTube. Jordan is going to close us out there, and we're going to keep going on LinkedIn and Facebook. All of Tom's fans, we're going to keep going here on LinkedIn, Facebook, and my YouTube channel. So goodbye, Voice America. Thank you, Jordan, for being our engineer today. Send me the audio later, and we're just going to keep going. Okay, Simon, you brought up so many interesting points. I still think awareness is going to be part of this, and I'm thinking it almost from the other end. What if you buy a car and say, I want these parts, these new parts. I'm going to take good care of the car. I'm going to have it maintained. I'm going to understand the implications. I'm going to understand all the composite components that Katharina is talking about, all of the new materials, and I'm going to let my data be collected. And I want this car, if anything happens to it, or if I have an estate and it has to sell it, if I'm gone, I want this to go back into the green economy. Can you imagine if we put that in our will? Can you imagine? Tom, they're talking about hold on, don't go there. Tom, they're talking about the European rules and in the EU and in France. What about the US? Is this possible? Are there going to be laws about recycling, or is it just aspirational?
So going back to Simon's point on insurance, it's been about 15 years in process within North America that if you read through the fine print in regards to fixing your vehicle upon wreck, that you will see that that is an option. So if you don't basically go through the fine print and click it, you have the option of whatever the insurance company wants to provide. So if the insurance company is getting a gray part or a remanufactured part cheaper, it's their right to basically reduce the price of the claim by putting that part in your vehicle. So now it's an opt-out versus opt-in process that's happening within insurance. So for those of you who haven't been into a body scenario and having your vehicle serviced after it's been wrecked, then please check that out, because it's going to be something all the way to the bottom, and you're probably going to not read through the terms and conditions. You're going to click it, and now for you go. So that is something that's been there for the last 15 years. Back to your point, Bonnie, I think there is going to be a need for an economic situation as well as a dire consequence if it's not done, that's really going to basically make a mind change to the execution within North America.
Happy carrot and stick.
Yeah, it's got to be something that's either going to be, it's going to be negative, you're going to pay a penalty, or you're going to do something. I mean, EV had an incentive that basically drove the purchase of an EV. At this point in time, I'm not positive that if we hadn't had that incentive, that market would not be out there. Now, long and short, that incentive's going away. The biggest manufacturer of those use of that as incentives is saying, I don't need it anymore, et cetera. So long and short, there's going to be a carrot and stick to it. And whether or not the stick is the first portion or the carrot's the first portion, there's going to be something that's going to drive that customer sentiment. I think one of the things you start to see with several things out, socks, shoes, et cetera, all being done based upon ocean plastic recovery. You're starting to see those particular brands kick off. But it's really going to be, and I have, my background here is Colorado. It's going to be certain states that are going to basically drive certain things like that. That are going to really be kind of the reason why you go out and do it. But long and short, the average consumer is looking for convenience, is looking for functionality, is looking for execution. And if you can do all of that and it be green, they're going to check that box. Yeah. So
I didn't know anything about this when my car was totaled, but most of the car was fine and a freak accident. And by all rights, I shouldn't even be here alive anymore. The accident was beyond comprehension how I survived without anything happening to me. But the car had enough damage. But what's interesting is that the insurance company paid out almost the entire price I paid for the car used 4 years before. It was a 370Z, pearl white, red leather interior, red rag top. It was a gorgeous car. And the right rear was spun around in a rainy day at 80 miles an hour across 3 lanes of traffic, hit the guardrail, facing traffic. I did a 180 turn. I was still in the car and nothing happened to me, but the car was sitting on the guardrail in the mud. And that was the damage. That was the only damage to the car, was that right rear quarter. And they totaled it. which was very sad for me. But I don't know what happened to that. And Tom, there was so much that was still good in that car. There was so much.
Yeah, 51% is a total. Okay, so when you start talking about the cost of the vehicle, the cost of recovery, cost of repair, 51% would total the vehicle. That means 49% of the vehicle basically is still salvageable, still sellable,
Possibly,
still.
yeah.
And even the 51% that's not going to be, you can basically take the materials and do something with them. Long and short, the insurance company, the salvage company, the execution, whether or not you're going to get a salvage title on it, what it's going to actually go to the scrap, going to go to pick and pull. All of those are pieces in regards to who's buying at auction that vehicle. And depending upon the scenario, the closer you get to that 51%, the most likely that's going to have a salvage title to it and be basically redone and put out there. Now, when you buy that, the consumer has to be told that's what they're buying. So ultimately, long and short, there are going to be abilities for people to buy salvage values. If you want that vehicle and you want to go salvage that vehicle, you could do it. You could have easily have also taken the check from the insurance company and only taken the 51%, taken the vehicle back in possession and had it repaired yourself. Long and short, that wasn't convenient for you.
No.
Okay, so it's something
I was advised against it.
Yes. Yeah, you don't want to get into it. Now, my wife, basically had an accident in a parking lot, freak accident, hit something. When it basically the car hit, it ripped off the grommets on the frame of the vehicle and came down on the other side of the grommets. The vehicle itself was basically hit at about 20 miles an hour when it hit the post that it hit. Okay, so the only thing that was basically dented was the front. However, because of the frame structure, it was have a different frame serial number on it. It had to be totaled. Had to go to the salvage structure because of it. Now they physically could have basically lifted it back up, put a new frame on it, and off it went. But because of that, because of the laws, because of the Consumer Protection Acts, basically made a total of that particular vehicle.
Frame damage. That's what they told me. They said, walk away. And I cried. I took pictures. I cried. That was a gorgeous car. Stefan, talk.
Yeah. This is, for me, one of the best reasons why we should change the way we build cars, because today it's just one piece. And if we build it more modular, then the possibility would be maybe given to say, okay, we're going to repair what's to be repaired and not to get rid of the entire car. If you can remove maybe the front and the back of the car and still use the rest of it, then we could reuse everything and just replace what's broken. This would be a huge benefit, but we would have to change all the way we do of the car. So there's a good example of manufacturing. It's for cutting costs of a famous EV manufacturer from the US, but they never did this for reuse, recycling, repair. But we are adapting this approach a little bit for getting new concepts for circularity. We do not know what's coming out of the process, but we guess it's going to be better. We have some improvements. Honestly saying, we will have some negative effects too. Maybe a bit less comfort. I don't know. Maybe it's not that shiny, glossy anymore. But a really modular car can be really helpful to that. And this is what we are doing in research projects. But maybe some of these elements will make it back to the market. And then I guess the first ones who want to have this is insurance companies, because they are then they can bring back a vehicle which has a damage which is really only 15%, and not a 15% damage means a 51% car. So this is our hope.
Thank you, Stefan. Katharina, raise your hand first, and Simon. Simon, this is quite a conversation.
I love it. I can go on for hours.
Well, we don't have hours, but you know what? This is what I was hoping for, was this dynamic of coming up with it's on topic, but it's off topic. To me, this is a circular conversation because we're covering all aspects of what kind of car do you buy, what do you own, and what happens to it, and what if you want something to happen to it, and how concerned are you with the materials in the car when you buy it in the first place, and what's your awareness of what's in the car when you buy another one? Do you want those gray materials Tom's talking about? Katharina, go.
Yeah, I wanted to add an aspect because it's not only about modularization and to reuse the parts. I think we are talking here about cars, so it's really a safety aspect here and a warranty for the manufacturers. And what we need to analyze and be sure of is about conditions. How was it used? How long was it used? What are the conditions around temperature, crash, and so on and so forth? And I think that's very important to solve before you can go in a concept to remanufacture, reuse. Yeah, modularization is just one aspect, and a car is already, so we have a lot of parts in there, and I think there will be ones which are easily or where we can have a reuse soon. And then there are others like high performance computers and so on and so forth, where we need more time to secure the parts than for reuse. Yeah. But clear, it's the way to go.
New mindset. Simon, then Tom. Go, Simon.
So I think I try to make it really short. 3 points. So first of all, I think we have two routes. We have the design route. So designing the circular car is one thing, and then but that will, I don't know, hit the economy in, Stefan, please correct me if I'm wrong, 10, 15 years if we would have the circular car designed already right now, until it's actually an ELV, an end-of-life vehicle. So we have to come from that side, and also we have to go through a similar process as we've seen in car production. So we have to make we have to transform the dismantling, the recycling process also into something very automated. And that's something we have to work on in parallel. So we come from both sides. And I think, Stefan, what you said again, maybe that circular car might be a bit less great, a bit less comfortable. I think it exactly opposite way. I think a circular car means you're using the car for much longer, which means you can use lighter materials, better materials, stronger materials. You can update it maybe in the meanwhile if the car is modular. So in the end of the day, with a circular vehicle design, you can use those materials that you would never dare to use in a car that's only lasts like 15 years or so. You can use the carbon materials and so on. So in the end of the day, you might even get a better quality and greater car that is every day or every year up to date. But Stefan, I throw the ball back to you. Like, let's bang heads.
No, you're right. So the quality, so the durability is better for sure, because if you design the vehicle for lasting longer, then the quality is better. Yeah. No, I was more talking about things like maybe it's possible that you see a bolt or something, because today we are using only welding design and adhesives, and this is maybe not the best for circular economy. And then we would have to use more bolts, and then you would maybe see a bolt, and the usual customer would never take care of it. But the automotive OEMs consider, someone might see the bolt, and he might see, there's a bolt which influences my comfort, and I guess that's not the truth.
I want to go to Tom wants to talk about, Stefan, hold on. We're going to come back to you. Tom wants to talk about recycling is already happening in heavy equipment. Tom, bring this in, and then Stefan, I'll go back to you. Tom?
So I think it's a lot of it's going to be customer protection and insurance and liability conversations we're talking about. And vehicle happens to be heavily regulated in most of the countries we're talking about here. When you start talking about use of life in regards to heavy equipment, boat, truck, train, et cetera, these things are typically a 20, 30, 50-year type of vehicle or asset that's basically going to go through. And so those particular equipment masters are actually physically out there for a longer period of time and are built to actually have reuse. So when you actually buy a tractor, you're going to have a different warranty on your engine, a different warranty on your grader, and you're going to send it back and have it redone, on a every 2 to 5 year type of piece. That customer is a business. The insurance company is not driving the liability or the warranty of that particular piece. It's the business driving that in regards to use of life of that particular asset. You start talking about boat, typically people don't buy brand new boats. A lot of people have a boat for 10, 50, 3, 4, 5 owners. They're just replacing the engine. They're just replacing this, that, or the other. So it gets down to the policies, the execution that's going to really drive this. And until the insurance companies stop driving the vehicle and the customer starts driving the vehicle, and we start putting things out there that says, hey, a car can be driven without a problem, can be driven 150, 200, 300, 400,000 miles and should run that long, and therefore be something that's basically protecting of the actual driver, then you're going to start to see those types of things working out. But if you go beyond automotive and you go to every single else thing that we're actually manufacturing today, most of those assets have got lifespans that are well beyond the 3 to 5 year process of a vehicle.
I have a question for anybody or all of you. Think of the factory floor as think of a car factory. They're putting the pieces together, right? It's going down the chain and it's moving from station to station, and this is getting put on and that's getting put on, and then the finishing touches and the bumpers and the doors and all that. Well, if you're using gray materials and recyclates, I like that word, Stefan. You introduced me to a new word. Will it be in the same factory?
Yes.
The fact will it? So they'll say, okay, we're going to put in a recycled door handle, or we're going to put in a recycled electric seat mechanism. We're going to put a recycled carburetor. I'm just making this up. I'm not a
workstation alignment and factory and equipment use is going to be done by workstation. So ultimately, as you hit workstation number 1, you basically would have on your particular order, this can be recyclable, this needs to be new, this needs to be gray. You're pulling from that particular bin, you're putting it on, and off it goes. So when you start talking about this, it is a separate inventory with separate validation, but the inventory could be sitting at the same workstation, and therefore the same line that's basically running it through is just pulling from different locations.
And the customer would have to receive some kind of a notification of how gray the parts are or where they originated from.
When they make that order, they would basically make a call that says, I want this made with X number of gray parts, et cetera, and recycled parts, or because I'm buying it at this value, that can be a substitution of X percentage. I think part of that is actually there today in certain industries, not automotive, but you start looking at these equipment masters of some of these large assets. They're not doing 17 million vehicles, so it's a difference in regards to capacity and just the number of things going through the line. ETO and MTO processing, engineered order, manufacturer order, is going to be something that's going to basically drive those. When you're making a stock, you're going to have less flexibility in going through it unless you're advertising that particular part or that particular product as something that's made with recycled parts, and therefore you're buying it. So when the customer buys that, they know X number of percentages are going through it. So it's like going back to the sock conversation, the shoe conversation, where you say a particular pair of socks, and I won't bring up brands, but a pair of socks goes 60 bottles, water bottles coming out of the ocean to make this one pair of socks. Okay, people know when they buy that product, they're basically getting 60 bottles that are basically going into that product. If you do that with a vehicle and you know that 60% of what's going in is coming from this, and they buy it, full understanding of what the execution of the customer is actually looking at, different conversation.
And then the conversation about the warranty. How long is this part supposed to last? Will the certain parts under the hood that are recycled have a different lasting duration than parts in the back of the car? To me, it takes awareness. We're talking about a conversation most people are not having. I don't think people aren't talking. I'm going to get a car
going back to the insurance conversation. The only difference in lifespan and use is cost. When you click the little button on the bottom that says, I will allow for recycled parts, manufactured parts, gray parts to be put into my vehicle, it has to have the same warranty as a regular part. So you're not making a call on, are you substituting for something? Your substitution is cost, not quality.
Yeah, but that's the same. It's always I think I've seen that in various markets. So we've done analyses in the steel market, for example. There's also the discussion about green steel or gray steel, which steel are we using? So green steel, i.e. steel that is produced with green energy sources. The dynamics of that market are absolutely crazy, because of course the steel cannot do anything more than the gray steel. It's exactly the same steel. Nobody can tell it apart. This market has to build up. And I think automotive producers play a quite significant role in this. So, God, I love this conversation. It could go on for ages now, but
we are going to continue this because I'm predicting I'm inviting you all back, and we will plan on a little more than an hour each time. I want the 4 of you back, exactly this panel, because I love the energy and I love the intention, and I like the intelligence of the experience, the expertise, the knowledge. Katharina brings something to the table. Stefan brings something different. Simon and Tom, you're all specialists to me in your own part of this conversation. So I would like to bring it back. Let's go around the table for one major aspirational prediction on where this conversation will be. I know we're going to come back this year, but 1 year from today, what will be different about what we're talking about? And just if you can wrap it up in 2 or 3 sentences, let's make, Katharina, I'm starting with you. What would be different 1 year from today that you can think of as far as recycling and ordering a car with gray parts and everything, the durability, the peer pressure to, did you get a part with a recycle? That's what we're doing here. I mean, the cocktail party conversation is part of that, right? The peer knowledge, the peer conversation. Katharina, go, and then Tom, and then Stefan and Simon, I'll finish with you. Go ahead, Katharina.
I think I would stay with the AI part and think its efficiency. This will change drastically in the next year.
Thank you. Interesting. Tom, next.
I would say 4% of all lithium will be increased in regards to recyclability based upon the use within EV. So ultimately, that's my biggest movement. If you look at across all the different components of the vehicle, I think lithium and the execution of the EV batteries is going to be the first needle to move.
Okay, thank you very much. Stefan, you're next.
I would say we were discussing a draft of the end-of-life vehicle directive up to now. In 1 year, this will be a regulation, and then we will have some panic in the market, and it's going to be very, very interesting. Maybe not funny, but interesting.
Provocative, to say the least. Simon, wrap it up, and then we're going to play the music, and we'll stick around for a minute and say goodbye. Go, Simon.
Great, thanks, Stefan. You just stole mine. But hey, I think when I use another one, I think we will see a progress in data sharing and the combination of different data streams. So inside, outside data, the synthesized data, what Tom mentioned. So I hope that this will drive the AI applications in that market and efficiency across the board.
Unleashed February 13th.
What's that? What's February 13th?
Unleashed February 13th.
Okay, we'll be looking out for it. Thank you so much. I'm going to play the outro music and then just stick around for a minute. We'll say goodbye. So everybody just listen to this one. This was made a while ago. I think you'll like it. Can you hear it? Oh,
Welcome to Read My Lips.
It's the wrong. Come on. Listen, my Apple Music is not paying attention. There we go. Sorry about that.
Are you tired of hearing the future is already here? We are too. That may have been yesterday's future, but today's future hasn't happened yet. Take a deep breath, tune out the hype, the noise, and turn up the volume. Voice America brings you savvy, art of the possible technology visionaries talking about how today's innovations right now are shaping every aspect of our real future. We'll laser focus our spotlight on workplace, health, digital media, transportation, smart cities, social marketing, fashion, food, smart home, consumer gadgets, and buzzworthy tech like artificial intelligence, machine learning, Internet of Things, augmented reality, and lots more. Clear your calendar and open your mind for Technology Revolution, the future of now. With the most upbeat host on global radio, Bonnie D. Graham. Listen anywhere, anytime, on any device.
Thank you. That was the voice of Ryan Treasure, my former colleague from Voice America. We wrote this together at least 5, maybe 7 years ago, and I found the audio, Tom, and I think it still works. So I like to think, the most upbeat, and I'm definitely the only host who writes a poem about each of her guests. So Stefan, I hope you enjoyed this. You were our newcomer.
Yeah.
You're coming back? See,
totally.
It wasn't the final. Let's stick around. I'm going to everybody say goodbye to social. Let's say goodbye. Tom, we still got people watching. Tom, Madonna, you're an audience magnet. All of you are. Bye, social.